Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome back to another one of my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the Amx 30B. Now, this tank has just hit the second stage of the auction, and currently it's 23,800 gold to pick it up. However, it's going to be dropping 1,200 gold every single day until the final price of 17,800 gold, which is around $50 US. And I would highly suggest to wait till the last day of this tank's price dropping because they're not going to sell out, or at least in my opinion they won't. So there's no point to buy it now. Just wait. It's a lot cheaper. You're going to be saving literally 6,000 gold. But with that aside, you guys want to hear about the tank, how to run it, where to run it, and all of the little tips and tricks in between it. So what is so special about the Amx 30B? Because when you look at it statistically, you notice, well, the damage per minute on it is not very good. It's sitting at a base damage per minute of 3,000, which is among one of the lowest at tier 10 for a medium tank. And I run calibrated on it, which brings it even down to 2,829. So pretty much when you think of it, any tier 10 medium is going to smoke this tank in damage per minute. However, they are not going to smoke it in gun depression because this tank has 10 degrees of it, which is really an epic amount, and you're going to be just demolishing anything that you do come across because there's really not many tier 10 mediums that have 10 degrees. In fact, there's the M60, there is the not the Progetto only has 9 degrees. There's the M60 and I think the STB1, and those might be the only tier 10 mediums apart from the Amx 30B that do have the 10 degrees. So it is quite a large number, and not to mention it has a very well armored turret in fact with that. If I pause the game real quick, you can take a look at the turret, and the gun mantlet, which covers pretty much the whole front of the turret, is around 300 millimeters thick, and that's just the gun mantlet. Then you have to penetrate the armor behind it, which is again about 100 thick, so you're not getting through that gun mantlet anytime soon, especially with heat rounds because they're just going to dissipate in the spaced armor. Now you can see there are cheeks of the turret, but really the chances of hitting that are so small they're not really a weak spot. But there is one big thing you're all looking at, and it is pretty big. It is the cupola. And a lot of you are probably thinking, well, that's a huge weak spot, but personally, I don't think it really is, because when I run a tank like the Amx 30B, I'm not sitting out in the open when people can very easily aim at the top of my tank's turret. I'm constantly moving forwards, backwards, and when I'm shooting at somebody, I'm not just going to sit out in the open. I'm going to peek out, snap them, and back behind cover. You saw there, I shot him right before he was able to get his gun aimed at me. Again, I'm going to peek out, and I'm going to snap him and back up. I never want the grill to be able to just constantly aim at my cupola. However, there is one big weakness of this tank I have not talked about yet, and yeah, it's the armor profile. The turret may be very strong, but as you just saw, that 183 just abolished my hit points, taking 1,200 off of the Hesh right through the hull. So it is a not very well armored tank. It's almost like you get a Leopard, and then you give it a very well armored turret. And to be honest, that's why I love the tank so much, is just because it has this excellent turret, and it's so fast because it has the same speed as a Leopard, goes 66 kilometers per hour. And because of that, it also has an excellent power to weight ratio. You can see I was able to easily evade this 183, and again, pop out, use my excellent aiming time of 1.9, snap him right in the turret, and you can just see how devastating this tank can really be in the right scenario, even though it has such a bad damage per minute. And the aiming time, I said, is really good. It's nothing like a Leopard's aiming time. It does lose that compared to a Leopard, but to have that extra turn armor really does give this tank so much of an edge, in my opinion, over the Leopard, because I'm a lot more aggressive. You can see this game I played, 4,027 damage, pretty quick game. I was able to skip around the map and pretty much shoot everybody I did go up against, but it's a very good tank. I love to run it, and personally, it's one of my favorite tier 10s in the entire game, so I really do love this tank, and I'm happy that it's not going to be a ridiculous price tag for this Blitz fair. But without further ado, let's get stuck straight into the second game. Now, one thing I do want to say about the gameplay you're seeing is this is cherry-picked games. These are the best games I could possibly pull out in the tank. And while it actually didn't take me that many games to pull out these 5,000, 4,000 damage games to show you guys in these reviews, you have to remember, and I don't want to brag in any way, so don't take this the wrong way, but I am statistically a lot better than the average player in Blitz. And because of that, my reviews on the tanks can be a little bit hindered than the average review from, let's say, a 50%er. And that's why it's actually good to watch a 50%er's review sometimes on tanks, because the first time I made my review on this tank, I said it was completely overpowered. And I have to take back what I said on that video, because a lot of you guys in the comments of it really pointed out that just because I think it's overpowered does not mean the average player is going to be doing as well as I do in it. And it really did make sense to me. So now all of my reviews, I try and really think of you guys as a community, so I try and base my reviews off of just how the average player will be doing in it. And personally, if you are not very skilled in a lightly armored medium, or to be honest, any lightly armored vehicles, I would definitely suggest to stay away from it, because while I said it does have a good turret, as you saw in the last game, that 183 completely tore me to shreds in that single shell. And that's because this tank literally has one hull armor. You are not going to bounce anything in the hull. And as you can see here, you may be wondering, well, why am I not pushing that aggressive against the 62A? Well, that's because this tank, as I said, for me only has 2,800 damage per minute, and that 62A has 700 more. That 62A will tear me apart if I push on him. Even if he's down 800, 900 hit points, he still will bring me down a large amount. So you have to remember when you're running this tank that you have to be very, very cautious to who you push on, where you push. You have to remember that your tank does not have a great damage per minute. So I do want to just put that as a caution out there, is don't get misled by my gameplay. It may seem like I'm doing very, very well in this games, but it does take a lot of skill and a lot of effort sometimes to get these games out. So I just wanted to say that, and please don't take this in the wrong way at all. But straight back into the replay, you can see we get a lucky bounce right through the turret of our tank, and here you go, you can see the hull just really doesn't work out. And if that 704 had have caught me out in the open when I did pull out there, that really would not have gone well for me. Thankfully, he pushed down there, he did not want to fight me anymore, or something like that. But as you can see, I still don't want to fight that T-62A, especially now that I've lost quite a bit of my hit points, but hopefully, yes, we get a nice little snap right into that 704, breaking 3,000 damage. Again, snaps right into the side of the tank. It really just falls apart in the armor department. So really, you have to make sure if you pick up this tank, do not let people get a hold of your hull armor. Really only try and let people see your turret when you're using gun depression, because the hull of this tank is just completely awful. But thankfully, as I said, it has such a quick speed on it that it's able to get very, very quickly into position. So if you do know the maps, and you know a lot of the maps, and you've ran a tank like the Leopard, and you know where the Leopard does really well, you'll do even better in this tank. So that is one thing that I do want to say about it. And you can see here, now I've got less hit points than this T-62A, and unfortunately, I'm going to dink that shell right into the dirt, and the 62A shoots the 121B. But now, he's going to repay the favor that I did to that grill. I'm going to bounce right off of him, and he's going to light me on fire. But I remembered, wait a sec, I'm drowning here, which means that if I keep the 62A from pushing on me, he's going to start drowning. So the 62A is like, uh-oh, wait a sec, uh-oh. And then he actually drowns to death, which was really funny for me, and I was very surprised I came out of that situation alive. That idea came into me at the last second there. But I backed up, made sure he couldn't shoot me just because his tank was underwater, and he actually said well played. So I do want to actually give him some credit there. It wasn't a sour face mood at all, but oh no, we pull right out and the Jagdpanzer was looking at us. Tough luck. After all that effort, even the 622 was laughing there. After all that effort, we get slammed right by that Jagdpanzer. But as you saw, the tank is very, very tough to play. Its damage per minute is not the best, but if you know how to run it, it will work really well. Personally, I love the tank, and I do think it is worth 17,800 gold. But again, if you don't do well in a tank like the Leopard, or you just don't like any lightly armored vehicles, or you don't do well in tanks that have lightly armored hulls, I would highly suggest to stay clear of this tank. Pick up a vehicle like the 121B, the Chieftain, anything else, because you probably will not do very well in this tank. But hey, if you love the Leopard, if you love lightly armored, very quick tanks, able to flank, able to do the job, you will love this tank just as much as I do. And not to mention, it is a pretty good looking tank. In fact, I like all the lines on it. It looks pretty good with any camouflage. The gun actually looks pretty sweet on it. Overall, I love it. Plays very, very nicely. And yeah, that's pretty much my whole review on this video, so I hope you did enjoy it. Other than that, guys, make sure you smash that like button. If you didn't, hit me with the downvote. Let me know why you didn't like this video in the comments down below. And make sure to subscribe, help the channel grow. And other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.